Now at 5, the pursuit towards peace. Presidents Trump and Putin concluded their talks out of Anchorage, Alaska. What came out of this? The news at 5 begins right now.
NBC4 News at 5 starts with breaking news.
And that breaking news comes to us out of Anchorage, Alaska. There is no deal until there is a deal. Those were the comments from President Trump after meeting with President Putin for 3 hours this afternoon. Good evening once again, everyone. I'm Colleen Williams.
And I'm Carolyn Johnson. Michael is off. Now, the goal of this summit was to hash out a resolution to the Russia-Ukraine conflict, but we learned no concrete details about what transpired. NBC4's Conan Nolan joins us now from the newsroom. Conan.
Right. Keep in mind, Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, was not part of this negotiation. Now, two things may have happened. President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin cut a deal on a ceasefire in Ukraine, but it's premature to announce. Or, as one diplomat put it, the whole thing was, to quote William Shakespeare, much ado about nothing. Now, keep in mind, high stakes here as they arrived in Alaska, in Anchorage, Alaska, for this summit. The stakes are extremely high. Russia occupies 20% of Ukrainian territory. The president has said his highest ambition internationally is to end the war and the conflict and the bloodshed. He has threatened sanctions against the Russian Federation, but they haven't really taken effect. And this was an effort, apparently, for them to talk about a possible ceasefire. Vladimir Putin, on the other hand, plenty have said, has really no interest in a ceasefire, certainly not yet, because he maintains a major offensive against the Ukrainian government. In his comments afterwards, he talked about how Ukraine is part of the Russian family, but he made a distinction between Ukraine and its capital, Kyiv, which, of course, is the home to Volodymyr Zelensky, and that's what he tried to demonize in his comments. The president, he seemed to downplay, to a certain degree, this 3-hour meeting, but he did say there was some optimism of a deal perhaps down the road. Here's what they said just moments ago.
I would like to thank President Trump for our joint work, for the well-wishing and trustworthy tone of our conversation. It's important that both sides are result-oriented, and we see that the President of the U.S. has a very clear idea of what he would like to achieve.
We had an extremely productive meeting, and many points were agreed to. There are just a very few that are left. Some are not that significant. One is probably the most significant. We'll speak to you very soon and probably see you again very soon. Thank you very much, Vladimir.
Next time in Moscow.
Oh, that's an interesting one. I don't know. I'll get a little heat on that one, but thank you very much, Vladimir. And thank you all. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Now, that's interesting right there. They didn't take any questions. This is President Donald Trump. He takes so many questions at a photo op. The fact that he did not take a single question, that's surprising, to say the least. And, of course, the meeting was 3 hours long. That's shorter than they expected. And that news conference was stepped up earlier than they had anticipated. For the Russian president, he gets away. There are no sanctions. He continues the war. And, in fact, from what NBC News is reporting, just moments after that summit was over, there were air raid sounds in Kyiv and other Ukrainian cities as the aggression from the Russian side continues unabated. They have 20% of the territory of Ukraine. Most diplomats believe they want the whole thing. I'm Conan Nolan, NBC4 News. Back to you.
Conan, could you read into what the next step here might be? I mean, he talked about that second meeting perhaps in Moscow, which, I mean, does anyone believe that will happen?
That's a good question. I tell you, Colleen, the next step is this. The president said he's going to brief European leaders on what happened. That'll be an interesting phone call to hear the president tell them what went down on those 3 hours. You know, he said, well, we agreed on a lot of things, but there's one big thing we didn't agree on. That may have been just how much of Ukraine Russia's able to get in this ceasefire. So that'll be interesting to find out exactly what the president says to Macron and the rest of them as to how this goes, because remember, the Europeans have skin in the game on this, especially Poland, a NATO ally. They're next, and they want to know exactly what was. And clearly, some diplomats have said that they believe this is exactly exactly how Vladimir Putin was going to operate. He did compliment the president in the post meeting interview, where he said he believed that if he had been president back instead of Joe Biden, that this war would have never taken place. That amplifies what Mr. Trump